Didn't stop till Saturday.
My new friend Maggie loves St. Patrick's Day. Probably because it is the only occasion in which she feels justified drinking her weight in beer and whiskey. Like thousands of other Americans on this day, we multiply our Irish heritage well beyond its truthful percentage so that we can trounce from one Irish pub to another. Now, it's really convenient that we live in the Upper West Side, about 2 blocks from Alcohol Alley, Amsterdam, in between 75th and 85th. So we start at Mickleers, and then we make our way down to George Keeley's, and then where we grind to a screeching halt at the Dead Poet, under the carrying hands of the very young, very adorable, authentically Irish bartender Aidan O'Reilly. Now, young Aidan has been in the States for less than a year, which is evidently not enough time to become disillusioned with drunken American females. In between pouring us shots of Jameson, he talks about books and plays and films, and he's so clever, I feel wittier by association. At the end of the night, Maggie's new boyfriend Jay comes to peel us off of our bar stools, but I cannot stop thinking about the hot ass on that bartender 10 years too young for me. High over Ohio. I close my eyes and I imagine I'm on the Charlie Rose show. The dark backgrounds, the Persian carpets, the good wood. Jodie Foster's just left and Gore Vidal is in the wings. Charlie turns his clef to me. So, how'd you get your start? And, well, I guess we'd have to call it, heck, corpse robbing, am I right? Right, you are, Charlie. Well, it was like this, you big, dumb, handsome guy they make read books. I had just moved to LA from Stockbridge, and I was broke, not acting. A friend of mine died. Bad death. And now, I hadn't been to a funeral in a long time, but they put me in charge of accessorizing him for the funeral. Only his wrists were so small that his watch wouldn't fit. So I put it in my purse for later. And it wasn't until 3 days after the funeral I realized I still had the watch. Yeah, I was going to give it back. But it was a Rolex and a rough week. And besides, give it back to whom? So I rationalized keeping it and selling it and finding ways to do it again. It's kept me in high 5 figures for 8 years now. Never been caught. Knock on cherry wood or naughty pine. I even know other people in the business now. We recognize each other at funerals, tricks of the trade stuff. You know, who's using lube, pliers, wire cutters. I saw a chick with a magnet once. God, she was a fucking trip, man. Of course, some jobs are dicier than others. I got a gold tooth once. Don't ask.
Yes, but I could hear voices.
Voices? What sort of voices?
People's voices.
But there's no one here.
Darling, I saw the door handle move. It could be someone from the office checking up.
I still don't see why you have to put on your tie to go in though.
Mrs. Crackit.
Mrs. Crackit?
Yes, one has to set a certain example for the staff.
Oh, look! She's opened our sardine.
Come back. I'll fetch them. You can't go downstairs like that.
Why not?
Mrs. Crackit.
Mrs. Crackit?
Yes, one has certain...
Now, any idiot can see that this is textbook breakup demeanor. And I'm happy to smooth over the tension with the very astute and objective observation. What a psycho. I mean, it is not his fault that she is so needy, so fragile, so obsessed. Clearly, I have correctly assessed the situation because he exhales, smiles, and fills me in on this woman's really unhealthy attachment to him. I know, I totally get it. I mean, it's really hard to find someone on the same page as you. I feel like this talk has brought us closer together. but not in the unhealthy attachment kind of way. My attachment is the picture of health.